You know, for so many people, there's this really personal question that sits right where their identity and their faith meet. It's a tension you can feel in families, in churches, and honestly, deep down inside yourself. So today, we're going to dive into a way of thinking that's designed to help resolve that exact tension.
And it all boils down to this one huge question. Can you be fully African and fully Christian at the very same time? I mean, does it have to be a choice? Your heritage over here and your faith over there? Or is there a way to hold on to both without feeling like you're betraying either one? Let's really unpack this.
Okay, so first things first, we have to get a handle on the problem itself, what many people feel is like walking on a very, very thin line.
And that phrase, the thin line, just captures it perfectly, doesn't it? It's that constant worry that if you lean too far one way, you're disrespecting your culture, but if you lean too far the other way, you're compromising your faith. It feels like this exhausting balancing act, where one wrong step could mean you've let someone down.
Now here is a total game changer for this whole conversation. The argument is that the real issue isn't a clash between two identities, like being African is fighting against being Christian. Now, the real conflict is actually about something much deeper. It's a question of allegiance and authority. Who or what has your ultimate worship, and whose authority is the final word in your life? Getting this shift in perspective is the absolute key to finding a way forward.
So, with that new idea in our heads, the next big step is learning to see the clear, practical difference between the job of faith and the job of culture.
Think of it like this. You've got two different arenas. On one side, Christianity, as a faith, is all about that vertical relationship. Who you worship, how you see salvation, your ultimate accountability to God. But culture, on the other hand, that's your way of life. It's the horizontal stuff, the language you speak, the food you eat, your sense of community. When you lay them out side by side, you see they don't have to be at war. They just govern different parts of your life.
And this is so important to get. Becoming a Christian is not a cultural conversion. Let's be real. A whole lot of what was historically asked of African converts wasn't actually biblical. It was just European culture dressed up to look like holiness. Your faith doesn't require you to abandon your heritage, change your name, or stop being who you are.
Okay, so if faith and culture can live together, where is that thin line we were talking about? Let's get practical. Let's move away from the theory and look at some concrete examples of where the actual boundaries lie.
All right, here they are. These are the red lines. Things like ancestral worship, consulting diviners, offering sacrifices to other gods, or making spiritual oaths to other powers. Now, notice the pattern here? None of these are about food or music or clothing. Every single one of them involves a competing spiritual authority. The line gets crossed when a cultural practice stops being about celebrating heritage and starts being about who you worship.
This distinction right here is maybe the most important one to really nail down. Honoring your ancestors, that's about memory. It's remembering where you come from, telling the stories of those who came before you, celebrating their legacy. That's culture. But worshiping ancestors, that's a religious act. That's when you're asking for their help, trying to appease them, or offering sacrifices. That's faith. See the difference? One is remembrance, the other is reverence.
Now, trying to figure all this out is tricky, and it's really easy to fall into one of two common traps. Both of them honestly just lead to more confusion and pain.
So on one side, you have cultural rejectionism. This is the throw it all away approach, where pretty much any tradition gets labeled demonic. And the result is really tragic. It leads to a deep loss of identity. But then you have the other extreme, spiritual syncretism. This is where you try to mix and match everything. A little bit of Christian prayer with a little bit of traditional sacrifice. It just creates a confusing, inconsistent faith where it's not clear who's really in charge. Both of these are traps.
So how do you avoid those traps? Well, it comes down to this simple but powerful idea. The goal isn't to live in fear of your own culture. The key is discernment, having the wisdom to tell the difference between what's just cultural expression and what's actually a competing allegiance.
So, how do you get that wisdom? How can you practice discernment in your own life? Well, here is an incredibly helpful practical tool, a simple test you can use for any cultural practice you might be wrestling with.
Here it is, just 3 questions, that's it. But they are so powerful. First, who is being worshipped here? Is it God, or is it an ancestor or another spirit? Second, what spiritual authority is being honored or acknowledged? And third, the big one, does this practice fundamentally contradict a belief in the unique authority of Christ? This little test just cuts right through all the confusion and gets to the real issue, allegiance.
You know, when you start applying that kind of clear-eyed discernment, something really amazing starts to happen. You move away from all that conflict, and you move toward this brand new positive vision for what it looks like to live out your faith right inside your culture.
And this is what that integrated life actually looks like. It means you can carry your indigenous name with pride. You can celebrate cultural festivals, keeping all the joy and community while just removing any bits of idolatry. You can bring the beautiful rhythms and languages of Africa right into your worship. It's not about erasing culture, it's about redeeming it.
And let's be really clear, this is not some weak compromise. It's not watering anything down. Theologians have a name for this. It's called contextual faith. It means Christianity is alive and breathing and fully at home in an African context, just like it was at home in a Jewish context for Jesus or a Roman context for the early church.
So at the end of the day, the goal was never to force an impossible choice between being African and being Christian. The real goal is integration without contradiction. It's about being fully and authentically both. Understanding that your beautiful culture is the very stage where you get to live out your faith with a clear and undivided heart.